Welcome to the audio breakdown. I'm Hunter. Today, we're going to be looking at standing waves and reflection in this room at the entrance to the conservatory. It's a room full of metal and glass, and as you can probably hear, it's not an ideal recording space. But before we go into the details about this space, let's look at how sound interacts with the environment.
At room temperature, sound travels at 1,130 feet per second. It's heard to a listener in three different ways: direct sound, reverberation, and standing waves.
Direct sound is the first initial sound to hit your ears. It is the pure sound of the source.
It conveys the correct timbre of the source audio. The amount of milliseconds it takes for the direct sound to reach the listener is approximately 0.885 times the number of feet from the source.
Reverberation is the persistence of a signal after its original sound has ceased. It includes early reflections and echoes.
Early reflections are perceived by the listener after an initial sound is bounced off of objects in a room. The timbre and color of these sounds are determined by the substances that they bounce off of. Now, these sounds are not heard as echoes because they fall within a 50 millisecond threshold and are perceived as an addition to the sound as a whole.
Echoes include reflections that come back after 50 milliseconds. These reflections generally lack high frequencies and add warmth to the sound.
Standing waves can either enhance certain frequencies at the antinodes or eliminate certain frequencies at the nodes, giving an inaccurate representation of a recording. One can avoid standing waves with acoustic treatments such as bass traps in the corners of rooms and acoustic pads on reflective surfaces. Also, one can cut the specific frequency that is resonating via multi-band EQ.
Looking around in this room, there's lots of metal, lots of glass, and it's clear that there's going to be a lot of reflections going on. But what's more important is how fast the reflections are going to be getting to the listener's ear and how they're going to interact with each other.
Because of the small size of this space, all of the reflections will be early reflections. And with the source placed in the middle of the room, the reflections will take 3 milliseconds to reach the wall.
Right. So, since all the noise will decay before the 50 millisecond point, all the sound will be heard as kind of a bright early reverberation. It'll still affect the sound and the timbre of the sound, and without a doubt it's going to get really muddy and unclear.
In addition to all the glass and other reflective surfaces in this room, there's a hole in the ceiling that'll cause a lot of the sound to escape, losing overall quality.
Right, and over here on this wall we've got a bunch of stuff going on. We've got a fire alarm and a thermostat, and while those won't do too much, they might affect some of the high frequencies. More importantly, we have a big metal sheet and a big metal heating unit. These are going to be kind of ugly. These are really reflective surfaces. They're rather vertical. You're not diverting the sound. And this has some openings in it too, so you're going to lose frequencies through here. That just kind of harkens back to the idea that if it can't hold water, it can't hold sound. And then finally, on this wall, we have like cement tile. It's just a harder material, really reflective, kind of ugly, something that you definitely wouldn't want to record around.
To find the frequencies that will be affected by the standing waves in this room, we plug in 1,130 for velocity, because that's the speed of sound, and our room dimensions for our wavelengths. Our three equations would be F equals 1,130 divided by 7, F equals 1,130 divided by 7.25, and F equals 1,130 divided by 7.5. These frequencies that will be affected will be 161, 150, and 155.
The major standing waves will bounce horizontally and vertically in the room, canceling out frequencies below 322 Hz, because the room is effectively a square. This will cause a lack of bass frequency response.
So we give this room very bad rating. Would not recommend it for recording at all. Very reflective, bright metallic timbre to it. And you have sound escaping, just not good. Versus this room, which is much better.